right. Let's see. Chapter 35. The Giants Revolt. Okay, it's good. Enraged because Zeus had confined their brothers, the Titans and Tartarus, certain tall and terrible giants with long locks and beards and serpent tails for feet, plotted an assault on heaven. They had been born from Mother Earth at Thracian Phlegraea, 24 in number. B. Without warning, they seized rocks and firebrands and hurled them upwards from their mountaintops so that the Olympians were hard-pressed. Hera prophesied gloomily that the giants could never be killed by any god, but only by a single lion-skinned mortal, and that even he could do nothing unless the enemy were anticipated in their search for a certain herb of invulnerability, which grew in a secret place on Earth. Zeus at once took counsel with Athene, sent her off to warn Hercules, the lion-skinned mortal to whom Hera was evidently referring, exactly how matters stood, and forbade Eros, Selene, and Helios to shine for a while. Under the feeble light of the stars, Zeus groped about on earth in the region to which Athene directed him, found the herb, and brought it safely to heaven. C. The Olympians could now join battle with the giants. Hercules let loose his first arrows against Alcyoneus, the enemy's leader. He fell to the ground, but sprang up again, revived, because this was his native soil of Phlegra. Quick, noble Hercules, cried Athene, drag him away to another country. Hercules caught Alcyoneus up on his shoulders and dragged him over the Thracian border, where he dispatched him with a club. D. The Porphyrion leaped into heaven from the great pyramid of rocks which the giants had piled up, and none of the gods stood his ground. Only Athene adopted a posture of defense. Rushing by her, Porphyrion made for Hera, whom he tried to strangle, but wounded in the liver by a timely arrow from Eurus's bow. He turned from anger to lust and ripped off Hera's glorious robe. Zeus, seeing that his wife was about to be outraged, ran forward in jealous wrath and felled Porphyrion with a thunderbolt. Up he sprang again, but Hercules, returning to Phlegraea in the nick of time, mortally wounded him with an arrow. Meanwhile, Ephialtes had engaged Eris and beaten him to his knees. However, Apollo shot the wretch in the left eye and called to Hercules, who at once planted another arrow in the right. Thus died Ephialtes. E. Now, wherever a god wounded a giant, as when Dionysus felled Eurytus with his Thyrsus, or Hecate singed Clytius with her torches, or Hephaestus scalded Mimas with a ladle of red-hot metal, or Athene crushed the lustful Pallas with a stone, it was Hercules who had to deal the death blow. The peace-loving goddess Hestia and Demeter took no part in the conflict, but stood dismayed, wringing their hands. The fates, however, swung brazen pestles to good effect. F. Discouraged, the remaining giants fled back to Earth, pursued by the Olympians. Athene threw a vast missile at Enceladus, which crushed him flat and became the island of Sicily. And Poseidon broke off part of Cos with his trident and threw it at Polybutes. This became the nearby islet of Niseiros, beneath which he lies buried. G. The remaining giants made a last stand at Bathos near Arcadian Trapezus, where the ground still burns, and giants' bones are sometimes turned up by plowmen. Hermes, borrowing Hades' helmet of invisibility, struck down Hippolytus, and Artemis pierced Gratian with an arrow, while the fates' pestles broke the heads of Agrius and Thoas. Ares with his spear, and Zeus with his thunderbolt now accounted for the rest, though Hercules was called upon to dispatch each giant as he fell. But some say that the battle took place on the Phlegraean plain near Cumae in Italy. H. Selenius, the earthborn satyr, claims to have taken part in this battle at the side of his pupil Dionysus, killing Enclatius and spreading panic among the giants by the braying of his old pack-ass. But Selenius is usually drunken and cannot distinguish truth from falsehood. Footers 1. This is a post-Homeric story preserved in a degenerate version. Euros and Dionysus, who take part in the fighting, are latecomers to Olympus, and Hercules is admitted there before his apotheosis on Mount Ota. It purports to account for the finding of a mammoth bones at Trapezius, where they are still shown in the local museum, and for the volcanic fires at Bathos nearby, also at Arcadian or Thracian, Pallene or Cumae, and in the islands of Sicily and Nisieros, beneath which Athene and Poseidon are said to have buried 2 of the giants. 2. The historical incident underlying the giants' revolt, and also the Eleodes' revolt, of which it is usually regarded as a doublet, seems to be a concerted attempt by non-Hellenic mountaineers to storm certain Hellenic fortresses, and their repulse by the Hellenes' subject allies. But the powerlessness and cowardice of the gods, contrasted with the invincibility of Hercules and the farcical incidents of the battle, are more characteristic of a popular fiction than of myth. 3. There is, however, a hidden religious element in the story. These giants are not flesh and blood, but earthborn spirits, as their serpent tails prove, and can be thwarted only by the possession of a magical herb. No mythographer mentions the name of the herb, but it was probably the Ephelatarition, a specific against the nightmare. Eliphates, the name of the giant's leader, means literally he who leaps upon, incubus in Latin. And the attempts of Polypharion to strangle and rape Hera and of Pallas to rape Athene suggest that the story mainly concerns the wisdom of invoking Hercules the Savior when threatened by erotic nightmares at any hour of the 24. 4. Alcyoneus, mighty ass, is probably the spirit of the Sirocco, the breath of the wild ass, or Typhon, which brings bad dreams and murderous inclinations and rapes, and this makes Selenius's claim to have routed the giants with the braying of his pack-ass still more ridiculous. Mimus, mimicry, may refer to the elusive verisimilitude of dreams, and Hippolytus' stampede of horses recalls the ancient attribution of terror dreams to the mare-headed goddess. In the north, it was Odin whom suffers from the nightmare and her ninefold invoked until his place was taken by Saint Swithold. 5. What use Hercules made of the herb can be deduced from the old Babylonian myth of the cosmic fight between the new gods and the old. There, Marduk, Hercules' counterpart, holds a herb to his nostrils against the noxious smell of the goddess Tiamat. Here, Alcyoneus' breath has to be counteracted. All right.